Today on the channel, we're going to be doing clutch basket inspection, plate change, and bearing inspection and change on the clutch hub. This engine is out of a 2000 Suzuki RM 250. It would be the same for a lot of Japanese bikes of this vintage or type, I guess. It is a two-stroke. Cross pattern. Oops. I apologize for the whining in the background. It's my propane heater and the charger charging the battery with the seven. I've already technically had all this stuff out and everything in here is already new. I just put it together and then realized, I should probably do a video about all this afterwards. Make sure you watch out, you got a bearing in here and a washer. Discs, I don't have to inspect them because I already know they're brand new. That's why they're all marked green, because they've been measured for thickness and slightly tuned because they were, let's just say I took the eBay gamble and ordered a cheap set of clutches. They measured them at 3 mil, which is perfect. But the problem is they're measuring them right here at the top of this metal finger and not at the friction material. So these were like 3.25 millimeters. So I literally sat there for how many hours and tuned each disc and checked it around with a micrometer, digital calipers and stuff to make sure that it's exactly right so I can tune stack height to the proper size that it is. But then again, I got the refund for this, so these clutches were free, so I really didn't care about doing it. These little finger holes right here on the sides of the basket are actually for your fingers to go inside and grab the whole clutch stack as one piece. Alright, now you pull the actuator rod part out. Well, that's the piece, and then the rod will come out from the other side. You can actuate your clutch arm on the opposite side to push it out. And then now here, a little bit of rock, but minimal. Alright, now yourself a pair of these. If you don't have these, I recommend getting a set. So far what you're going to need for tools is 8 mil socket to remove the 6 bolts, a set of these, 8 mil socket to also loosen these caps on the outside to take the cap off, and then 30 mil. Everything on this is metric, and then some kind of an impact to get that big bolt out of it. Like I said, I've had this all together and pre-tested, fitted, and then realized I should have made a video out of it, so why not? I'm not a fan of this type of clutch holder, but it was cheap when I was rural distributing. I don't know if you guys have those stateside or not, but it's a Canadian thing. Unless it is American also, but I wouldn't know. Alright. Bottom of the impact. This is where you gotta be careful. This is your bolt, or your nut, sorry. It goes this side facing towards in, this side facing out. You'll never get it confused, because if you get it confused, it's going to be weird. It'll never fit right. There it goes. The washer here. This eventually gets bent over the nut, so when this is sitting down on here, this would have been folded down over the flat spot over here to stop it from loosening. But like I said, I've already been in here and been investigating all this stuff and checking it and adjusting stack height. I can already tell I'm going to need another one of these sometime soon, because if you look at any of them and you see any cracks or a piece is missing, like i.e. that tiny little bit of corner right there, right, or the lines that you see behind it, see right there, can you see that on the camera, bro? Okay, so these lines here, that means it's going to start to crack soon eventually. So you just keep investigating, looking, see if you see any more. This is the inner drive plate. Oh, there's another one there, got a slight bit around on it. Some of that also could be from the clutch hub tool. That's another reason why I'm not a fan of them. I like the style that looks more like a wrench that fits inside of here and holds on to all of them. Actually, that's an outer basket hub tool. Alright, well. Go the washer. Watch how you keep it out. That's how I have to go back in. You guys are building a Suzuki of this year. This is the part number for the bearing that you're going to need, and that's this. Okay, so what happens is that bearing goes inside of here. Ooh, wow, that assembly loop is sticky. Since I've already inspected all this, I've measured the bearing rollers out, I've measured this inner hub piece. This is all fine. That little bit of rock that you see there is actually play for when these bearings start to spin around really fast and they start to heat up and expand, then that play will go away. As long as it's not hitting on the inside of your clutch hub cover, like, see how there's no marks on the inside of this? You don't see that this is actually grinding on the inside of this? As long as you don't see any of that, then you're okay. My brother's bike, the guy's behind the camera, he's got an 89 KX 250 that was like, we picked up for like $500 or $600 barn find. Well, the guys were doorknobs and didn't realize that once the kicker thing stops working, that, oh, it's just busted. Well, you know, there's a spring inside there that once the spring like lets go or stops putting pressure on the little fingers, that it will completely stop working. So I got the bike for super cheap because the guy said it needed all these parts. I go home, clean the carb, shim out and replace the spring that was inside of it, and we were like jumping on it and riding the bike in a matter of the same day. But this is all good. So what I'll do is I'll just put this all back, and we'll do this in reverse order now. So what you would do, you'd put the new bearing in, obviously, and slide it all in. Use some lubrication. Don't assemble this dry. Since this is all back in now. Okay, you pay attention to what side this washer was in. And since there's a black ring right here, I assume that black ring means it goes against the lifted up inner part of this. This is right to where it lines up. This goes in. There you go. This inner tab. Second, so I can jump in front of the camera. I'm going to use my shot press over here and flatten out the spot. That would just beat up with a hammer. This was already all weird, so for it to sit properly, I need to have that flat. So what I'm going to do is put it back in. Interlock washer. Well, we're not going to use the impact. Well, we could, and I'll show you something. Okay. Leave it hanging there, and just, okay, that's the right way. Just give her a little couple taps. Whoop, and smash yourself in the face with it. Okay. Now stop that and grab your torque wrench, because you don't want to over tighten it. It's set for 65 foot-pounds, as per the manual. 65 foot-pounds, 9 kilogram feet per meter, or 90 newton meters. 65 foot-pounds. Just use the simple stuff. Bad enough the bike's metric. We don't need to ever make everything else metric and confusing. Okay, so that would be 50, 60. 5 foot-pounds. kind of funny because that's right where the bolt feels like it moved like an eighth of a turn and then stopped. Right where it stops is right where the 65 foot-pounds come in. It's kind of awkward to do. Oh, take that off. So I have to keep stepping in front of the camera. Take this off. This on the floor. Now, you start this all over again. You always start with one of these. These should be oiled. Actually, give me a second here. I will do this. Technically, you should soak them. Soak them, not soak them. Put them in a little bit of oil doesn't really particularly matter, because if they were to be soaked for how many hours and they soaked up oil and absorbed them, then the clutches wouldn't be doing their jobs. These aren't supposed to absorb oil by any means. If they were, they would swill real bad, and that's not what you want. So, normally, I just smear them all down, get them all nice and greasy. I'm using some 2050 total grease oil in here. Stick it in. The green tabs are just from me marking them when I checked all of the heights and thicknesses for stack height. Stack height is the total height of all of the friction plates and steel plates combined when you lay them on a table like this. So if I were to take that plate back out of there and lay it on top of this and then measure the stack height from the bottom of the table that they sit on, or the piece of glass, to the top of here. It has to be a certain thickness. If this is too thick, it's not going to be very good for you and you're going to have issues. Like the clutch won't work, you'll have to have your thing adjusted all kind of odd, a number of things. These, there's always like a washer, what they call a sharp side, and a round side. You'll notice it when you actually see the discs in first, and it's kind of hard to see on camera. It doesn't matter which way you put them. You can put them sharp side facing out, as long as all of them are facing the same way. You can put them sharp side facing in, like I do, with the sharp side facing in, rounded side facing out. That's just the way I've always did it. There's no particular way, as long as they all go the same way. I think the consensus is pretty much the same out there, that people just say it doesn't really matter, as long as it goes all the same way. I know some people say that they must go sharp side facing back. I know some people that say that they must go sharp side facing in. So, you know what, I think it's more like a personal choice thing. Alright, another one in there. Steel. Once again, flat side or sharp side facing back. Wow, man, that 2050 is thick. Oh, that stuff feels like honey. Can you see that? This stuff's like it's tacky. Oh, again, we're in southwestern Ontario, Canada, so, you know, still not the warmest here yet, but it's not that cold out in this garage right now. I'm out here in like a thin pair of pants and a hoodie. A little bit of lubrication on those when they get put in there so they don't run around dry on each other. Either way, the gearbox is going to get filled with oil, so that just means that they're going to be sitting in essentially oil anyways. And you keep repeating this over and over and over again. Another. Tacky. Very tacky. Just go the last steel. I'm going to get to call it drive plate because it's untouched to the inner hub. And these are friction plates, or these are the drive plates, and those are whatever. I know these are frictions, and those are steels, but they have other names. Alright. And now my hands are all full of 2050 motor oil. Awesome. Alright, so we'll move this out the way. Get on to stepping in it, because that would be me. Alright, now we go. Rod in. If you want to switch directions and stick it back in the other way, it doesn't really particularly matter. They're both shaped the same on this one, at both ends the same, so I'll just stick it in. Okay, I'm going to grab my stem in here. Crap, I pushed it too far back. There we go. Take this, stick it in there, and grab that bearing. That bearing goes, these rollers facing inwards, and then the washer behind it. That way. Like that. And you grab your plug center. And just screws it all back together now. I recommend not running all those in all of the way until you got all of them in there. These springs don't have a tight or a loose spot. Sometimes they have the coiling tighter at one end. If that's the case on your clutch springs, run that part towards the inside, not towards the outside, or your clutch springs are going to feel really stiff at first and then get really, really easy as you pull it in more and more and more. Which, if you like that type of a clutch where it's like stiff, and then once you get past the stiff part, it's super easy, then I guess put them backwards. I don't care. That is all again, personal preference, right? But according to the manual, the tight spots, tight coils are supposed to face in. I think it's because it's a progressive spring, or they wind one end coil like that on purpose, so you know which way the spring goes. What I'm doing here is aligning the springs behind the washer so they don't stick out. Because the springs slide on the bolts like this when they're inside, so they can go in kind of crooked on a weird angle like this off to the side. So I'm just straightening them so they're all straight. Man, everything's covered in motor oil now. This is not. The final tightening. There is no tightening torque per se in the manual for this. If you really think about it, that just bottomed out. Those springs and those washers technically just bottomed out against the piece in there. But just because we will get some tools. Oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Got a torque wrench, and I just usually put them to like about 5 foot-pounds, let's say. You don't want to snap the bolt off, right? So, extension like that. This is an 8. Let's see. Unlabeled socket. What is it? Oh, an 8 mil. Sweet. All right. So, since my torque wrench is only in inch-pounds and not foot-pounds, there's 12 inch-pounds to a foot-pound. Just like 12 inches to a foot, same conversion works for torque. So 1 inch-pound, it takes 12 inch-pounds to make 1 foot-pound. So if these, I'm going to put them at 5, that would be 60 inch-pounds. This is a quiet torque wrench. You can barely hear it break or the click on it. And even then, they still feel like they're kind of loose and can go tighter. Okay, I'll run, check them all, just make sure. Blow my nose. Alright. That'll be 5 foot-pounds. That is that. From there, to finish the job, you would put this on and drive all your bolts back in. But actually, yeah, I can go all the way because I am done. I don't have to mess with anything else in there anymore. Long bolts go across the top. Long bolt, short bolt, long bolt. Don't ask me how I remembered that, or how I remember that. Maybe it's just I've had the bike part enough. Sure, if I like the way that this socket works. Kind of odd. Lightly snug them. You don't want to strip these. I could have ran these in with the Ryobi, the little green guy. Doesn't have enough torque to strip these. But I don't feel like running all the way over back over my toolbox to grab the little 8mm wiener socket again. Essentially, I'm just waiting for the cylinder and all the stuff I ordered for this to show up. The cylinder was sent away to CV Tech in Quebec to get stripped out and replated. I stripped all the power valve and stuff before I sent it, because it saves money by doing that, by stripping the head down and having it all stripped before you go. So then you send them just a bare head, so all they have to do is strip the old chrome or the old nickel coating off and recoat it. Like I said, once that comes in, there'll be a video of me reassembling the top end. I did not make a video of me pulling apart the top end. I really should have, because it would have been a good learning video of what not to do. If someone told you that they just had the cylinders honed and, you know, a new piston stuck on it, well, that works for old school kind of steel bore bikes. You can't just take a nickel cylinder and hone it and send it, because that's what happened. The previous owner before me did, and threw like a $200-something Wiseco fourth piston in it, cut Wiseco bottom, or not Wiseco, hot rod's bottom end, and they just like cheaped out. They didn't want to sit there and put the coating on and then send it out to get coated, right, or replated, and yeah, ate the coating off the sides of the wall. The piston has huge scoring all over the side of it, and a giant crack on the side of it. So lucky I pulled the engine apart when I did, because like, if not, then hey. Oh yeah, here it is. Actually, speaking of which, there's the piston. Look at this. It's like gigantic. This is the intake side, so the guy didn't take care of cleaning his air filter either. This is why cleaning your air filter is so important, guys, especially on a freaking two-stroke. Right? Like, this is right, all the dirt that comes straight through your carburetor, like when it comes straight through the air intake and right past it, it goes straight into this and gets smacked right into the side of this piston, and then this is rubbing up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down on the intake side of the sleeve, or the cylinder, I should say. And yeah, this is all from running just what you call honing and sending it. But like I said, brand like, yeah, it's like a brand new piston. Yeah, because like I said, they just honed it and sent it. They didn't sit there and they didn't check piston to wall clearances or any of that stuff. This stuff had way too much play, and it was like chattering around, whatever else. But look at the piston; it's super clean. This is like a brand new unit. This thing was pushing 190 something plus psi when I was riding it, and this is like, just people are like blow their mind when they see this kind of damage, and they're like, it was, you know, sealing that good. Well, just because it has this kind of damage to the piston doesn't mean that the rings aren't sealing good against the bore. That's different, right? But yeah, this piston is destroyed. There's a big crack up the center. Here, I don't know if you can see that little crack right there. Can you see that? There you go. See that? Just split up there. And I didn't realize all that until I took all this apart. And I was only taking the bike apart just because I wanted to clean the power valves, because the guy before me never did it in how many years, and they were black and crusty and nasty. So I'm like, you know what, try to tie top end apart, do some maintenance, and yeah, see what happens? Just a little bit of maintenance, and I found something that could have took my bike out. If I could have just said, I don't care, and I rode it anyways, this here would have broke off and fallen inside the bottom of the crankcase and took the whole engine out. And like I said, this bike just got a brand new hot rods bottom end, like crank, bearings, connecting rod, all that stuff. So I really don't want to play around with having to rebuild all that all over. But yeah, top end I don't mind doing. Bottom end I also don't mind doing, but it's just the cost and the time of doing it, because splitting the cases are kind of a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of work. Where doing the top end is nowhere near as much. But alright guys, I'll stop chewing your ears out with a bunch of pointless info. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment, appreciate it. Thanks.